Mohenjo-daro Mound of the Dead is an archaeological site in Larkana district, Sindh, Pakistan. Built around 2500 BC, it was the largest settlement of the ancient Indus Valley civilization and one of the world's earliest major cities, contemporaneous with the civilizations of ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, Minoan Crete, and North Chico. With an estimated population of at least 40,000 people, Mohenjo-daro prospered for several centuries, but by around 1700 BC had been abandoned, along with other large cities of the Indus Valley civilization. The site was not rediscovered until the 1920s. Significant excavation has since been conducted at the site of the city, which was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1980, the first site in South Asia to be so designated. The site is currently threatened by erosion and improper restoration. The city's original name is unknown. Mohenjo-daro, the modern name for the site, has been interpreted as Mound of the Dead in Sindhi. Mohenjo-daro was built in the 26th century BCE. It was one of the largest cities of the ancient Indus Valley civilization, also known as the Harappan civilization, which developed around 3000 BC from the prehistoric Indus culture. At its height, the Indus civilization spanned much of what is now Pakistan and North India, extending westwards to the Iranian border, south to Gujarat in India, and northwards to an outpost in Bactria, with major urban centers at Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Lothal, Kalibangan, Dholavira and Rakhigdi. Mohenjo-daro was the most advanced city of its time, with remarkably sophisticated civil engineering and urban planning. When the Indus civilization went into sudden decline around 1900 BC, Mohenjo-daro was abandoned. The ruins of the city remained undocumented for around 3700 years until R.D. Banerjee, an officer of the Archaeological Survey of India, visited the site in 1919-20, identifying what he thought to be a Buddhist stupa, 150 to 500 CE, known to be there, and finding a flint scraper which convinced him of the site's antiquity. Mohenjo-daro had a central marketplace with a large central well. Individual households or groups of households obtained their water from smaller wells. Wastewater was channeled to covered drains that lined the major streets. Some houses, presumably those of more prestigious inhabitants, include rooms that appear to have been set aside for bathing, and one building had an underground furnace, known as a hypocaust, possibly for heated bathing. Most houses had inner courtyards, with doors that opened onto side lanes. Some buildings had 2 stories. Mohenjo-daro had no series of city walls, but was fortified with guard towers to the west of the main settlement, and defensive fortifications to the south. Numerous objects found in excavation include seated and standing figures, copper and stone tools, carved seals, balance scales and weights, gold and jasper jewelry, and children's toys. Most of the objects from Mohenjo-daro retained by India are in the National Museum of India in New Delhi, and those returned to Pakistan in the National Museum of Pakistan in Karachi, with many also in the museum now established at Mohenjo-daro itself. The finds from Mohenjo-daro were initially deposited in the Lahore Museum, but later moved to the ASI headquarters at New Delhi, where a new Central Imperial Museum was being planned for the new capital of the British Raj, in which at least a selection would be displayed. It became apparent that Indian independence was approaching, but the partition of India was not anticipated until late in the process. The new Pakistani authorities requested the return of the Harappan pieces excavated on their territory, but the Indian authorities refused. Eventually, an agreement was reached, whereby the finds, totaling some 12,000 objects, most shards of pottery, were split equally between the countries. In some cases, this was taken very literally, with some necklaces and girdles having their beads separated into 2 piles. In the case of the 2 most celebrated sculpted figures, Pakistan asked for and received the priest king, while India retained the much smaller dancing girl, and also the Pashupti seal. Currently, the site is threatened by groundwater salinity and improper restoration. Many walls have already collapsed, while others are crumbling from the ground up. In 2012, Pakistani archaeologists warned that, without improved conservation measures, the site could disappear by 2030. Please like and subscribe our channel for more interesting videos.